Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menashe. On today's show, we're talking about what constitutes a passive investment. But first, I'd like to invite you to spend 3 days with me setting goals for 2020. Most people spend a few hours around New Year's Eve setting New Year's resolutions. These last-ditch efforts are unstructured and ineffective. Designing the life you want requires careful planning, clarity, and intention. Join me on November 30th through December 2nd on the beach in beautiful sunny Mexico for our second annual Goals Retreat. For more information, go to victorjm.com/events. That's victorjm.com/events. We are back. I'm coming to you on location from the 17th Annual Investor Summit at Sea. This annual event is like no other. Every night, I'm seated with a new group of investors at my dinner table. One of the frequent questions that I ask people at my table is, what are your goals? The typical story goes something like this. They have a full-time job, they love what they do, but they're ready to change careers in favor of something with passive income. So they've started buying a few rental properties, and they haven't quite figured out how to scale up beyond a few properties. Each of the properties are a lot more work than they anticipated, and they don't have the investment capital to buy a large multifamily project by themselves. In talking with a number of people over a length of time, I've noticed a few trends, and I can broadly put the investors on board the Summit at Sea into 4 major categories. Number 1, there are the beginner to intermediate investors who are still working as employees or perhaps as professionals in their day job and moonlighting with a small rental portfolio, trying to figure out how to transition from their current life to one where passive income has replaced their employment income. Number 2, there's investors who've decided to become full-time operators of a small business. They've traded their day jobs for the role of a small business owner. They've recognized that owning a portfolio of properties is not a passive endeavor. It takes a lot of work. And they've reached the limits of scalability not only based on capital, but based on time. They're still on the hamster wheel, running faster than ever before, but with a large number of pretty small projects. Number 3, there are the full-time investors and developers, guys like me, who've decided to focus on larger projects. Those larger projects afford the possibility of hiring the dedicated full-time staff in all of the critical roles that are necessary to operate the business on a daily basis. The focus of time and energy goes into managing the projects, but not the day-to-day operations. It goes into managing the growth of the portfolio, and once the projects are complete, they're more or less on autopilot, and the dedicated staff manage the daily operations with little to no intervention from the business owner. If at some point in the future I decide to take my foot off the gas and either slow down or perhaps even stop growing the portfolio, there will be a flow of residual and passive income, and my role as the business owner focuses on making sure the right people are in the right roles. I'm focused on building the organization. That's not that different from a senior role in corporate America. The 4th and final group have figured out that managing all of these projects is a ton of work. They've decided to focus their time and energy on selecting a handful of high-quality operators who they trust with their portfolio, and they choose to invest passively through private syndications. These are the same types of projects investments that the large family offices of the wealthy and ultra-wealthy invest in. The key to investing successfully is to perform your due diligence. There are 3 things you need to look at whenever you perform due diligence. Number 1, you've got to be working with the right team. That is the single most important factor above all else. Number 2, you need to perform due diligence in the market in which the proposed project is located. Is it a growing area? Is there influx of population? Are there high-paying jobs coming to the area? What does the supply-demand equation look like? Is there an excess of demand and a shortage of supply, or is there an excess of supply? And then finally, you want to look at the specifics of the deal. The rich don't work for money. They put money to work for them. Unless you love developing projects, which I do, you may want to consider a purely passive investment, but only with an active business that you trust and where you've done your due diligence. As you think about that, have an awesome rest of your day. Go make some great things happen. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.